1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast sound check. Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It's the Wednesday show. We are live and I am your host, Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we have Connor O'Neill. Connor, how are things? All good?
Yeah, all well. A little bit of a cold, but I think everyone has this time of year, haven't they? It's always the pre-festive illness that everyone seems to get struck down with, but apart from that, all good.
A little bit under the weather like myself.
Yeah, just a little bit of a cold, blocked nose, the usual symptoms.
Too much overindulgence on the sports night out, was it?
More than one night out, I think, so far this month. So yeah, maybe that didn't help things.
Well, hopefully talking about Everton will help things. I don't know if it usually does, but hopefully today it will.
Well, I think we've had a better week than what we thought we might have, so that is one positive.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I just want to apologise to everyone for the no YouTube show on Monday. We had a bit of a depleted squad. I was ill, Chris was off, and Gav was still on his jollies. But one man did save the day, and Joe Thomas did record. Joe Thomas.
By the way, whose birthday is today? So many happy returns to Joe. Yeah. Celebrating his birthday today.
Happy birthday, Joe Thomas. Joe recorded a podcast himself on Monday, talking about Arsenal, talking about the takeover. So if you want to go back and listen to that, it is an audio-only podcast. It wasn't published to YouTube, but you can find that on all audio platforms. So hopefully, I'm a little bit better, Connor, but I'm still not 100%, so hopefully I'm going to be able to get through this podcast. You can probably tell in my voice.
We'll keep it short and sweet and get to the point very quickly.
We will. Okay, well, today's agenda then, we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Arsenal, the final word on that. Fantastic draw at the Emirates. We'll talk takeover. Not that there is too much to say at this moment in time, but I know Connor's going to be keeping an eye on his phone for any breaking news while we'll have to see if the takeover is confirmed. And obviously, Everton, massive game on Sunday against Chelsea at home, so we'll talk about that. We'll look at that. We'll preview that and we'll give our predictions and we'll give our team selection as well. Usual plugs and promotions. Give this video a thumbs up and drop us a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. And just looking on the stream now, as mentioned, we are live. So get your questions in, get your comments in, and I'll try and read out as many as possible. First off, Connor, then, it's been a couple of days now since Everton's 1-1, 0-0 draw with Arsenal at the Emirates. Just your reaction, really, to what was probably a surprising but really good result.
Yeah, really positive result, wasn't it? I said in this pod last week, didn't I, that, above all else, you wanted to see a performance and, was really digging and put the graft in after the way we collapsed against Manchester United. And we did that. I thought we were superb for a large part of it. A little bit of indecisiveness cost us, I think, in the first 10 minutes when Decore gets himself into a really good position. And, you're thinking just step inside and let fly. He didn't. And that was a big chance that went begging him. Probably the best chance we ended up having all game. Obviously, we were indebted to Jordan Pickford. I think he made four really good saves. Maybe one or two that will be seen as good saves, but I think given what we know about Jordan Pickford and what we've seen every week, the saves that you'd expect him to make. So yeah, we were bailed out a little bit by him, but no, it was a really positive point, I think is the best way to describe it, because like I say, if you look going into this month, I think everyone was fearful. Everyone was a little bit apprehensive that, this could be kind of like a long, losing run on the horizon. And okay, I know the derby was called off, but, so far now it's 4 points from the 2 games we played, which is, a great return and one that we all would have, bitten people's hands off for. So, yeah, it was a really positive performance, really positive result, and hopefully now it gives us a bit of a springboard for Chelsea at home at Goodison on Sunday.
I mean, you mentioned the Decore opportunity. I think...
More than opportunity.
Yeah, it was obviously more than an opportunity. I think that's what the biggest frustration from a lot of fans with Decore, that he does get himself into these opportunities, but I think we've questioned whether he's physically capable of, doing these things now. I'd say his age, but physically he's quite clearly not there. But even though I still feel that he has a contribution to the team, but it is frustrating. I mean, look at the West Ham game away when he's through on goal and the defender has no right to get back to him. But he does.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Yeah, it is frustrating. I mean, I'm not sure if it's down to like the physical side. I don't know whether maybe just he hasn't got the brain for that. He's obviously maybe his strengths lie elsewhere. What he brings to the football team. So yeah, I think that's the big takeaway for me though, is that it is frustrating. And I think like when you look at it, and if we're being realistic, you're not going to get many good chances at the Emirates, and that was a good chance. And you're thinking if he puts himself, has a shot on goal, and we maybe take the lead, it gives us then something even more to hang on to. So that's the frustrating part for me. So I just think we're in a world and an environment at the Emirates where you're probably not going to carve out many clear-cut openings, if we're being brutally honest. Especially maybe this is where I haven't set up and play. It's not designed as the game to the opposition. It's not designed to to play on the front foot and get chances. You just got to start making the most and making more of them opportunities. I think when you come in, like I say, you look at West Ham, you look at that one at the Emirates at the weekend, the big opportunities and the big moments in games that they do go our way. It could be a whole different, we could be talking about a whole different aspect of the game or the performance.
I want to come on to what you just mentioned there. I'll come on to it in a bit, but how Everton play and how they set up, and interesting comparisons to the Arsenal game, which was a fantastic result, by the way, but to the Southampton game, 2 totally different parallel results, but the way Everton played was probably exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I'll come on to that in a bit, but before we do, just stick with Jordan Pickford, because I think you've mentioned it there already, how, again, he's probably saved us a point, but he took a lot of criticism in the early part of the season, and justified, potentially, rightly so. That's not for me to say. We know he was struggling. He maybe had a bit of a hangover from the summer tournament. It certainly contributed to Everton conceding a lot of goals, with his form. But he seems to have quickly got that back on track, and it's not the first time this season that he saved Everton from defeat.
It's not the first time he saved Everton from defeat in the last few years, is it? Let's get it right. It's a common occurrence, isn't it? It's a common theme that runs through the football club. His ability to pull Everton out the crap. So, yeah, I mean, there maybe was a little bit of a hangover in the summer. Obviously, he was part of an England team that comes so close to making history. Didn't quite get over the line. But, I mean, for me, I don't think you can ever doubt Jordan Pickford's ability or, what he brings to Everton Football Club, what he brings to the table. I think he's absolutely superb. And I think, we see time and time again, don't we? He's there when Everton needs him. We talk about West Ham, that last 10 minutes there, we get a point, but it could have been so different if he doesn't make 3 great saves, one of which in stoppage time, I think from Danny Ings was top draw. So yeah, I mean, we know how good he is, and it's quite interesting. Recently, I don't know if people will have seen it, but Andy Lonergan, of course, who was a former Everton, goalkeeper, who spent a couple of years at the club as the kind of third choice. He was doing a podcast, and he was talking about Pickford, and he said, the perception people have to him to what is the reality is so different. He said, he's such a calm and composed figure. He's just a great lad, and Lonergan actually went as far as to say, if it wasn't for him, Everton would have been relegated. He's single-handedly kept Everton in the Premier League in the last few years, and it's hard to disagree with that assessment, if we're being honest. And I just think whenever Everton, he's called upon, he's there to deliver. And how many of our big moments in recent years has Jordan Pickford played a part in? And he's played a part in quite a lot of them. Even if you look back at the derby last year, which is probably the best performance we've seen from an Everton team under Sean Dyche, great 2-0 win. He still made 3 or 4 really good saves that night against Liverpool. The one from Núñez in particular. You look at Bournemouth away. Obviously, Decore gets the headlines because he scores the screamer. The Park End. Pickford makes a big save in the 9 seconds, doesn't he? So there's always elements of where Pickford's have played a part, and a lot of what's been good about Everton in recent years. And I just think on Saturday we saw his class, and we saw why, for me, he's the undisputed England #1. I think it's quite laughable, isn't it, when you think now that people generally thought Aaron Ramsdale was could not only compete with him, but was best at him at one point. I think we can see now that the world's apart and what they bring to the table and what they offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, am I right in saying Arsenal had some really, not crazy record, but really good record where they'd scored
They generally always scored, don't they? I think that was the big thing, is that they always generally score.
Yeah, it's conceding where they've had the issues. So yeah, positive result, really, really positive. And if we focus on another individual, I think in defence, Tarkowski, again, another player who's been criticised quite a bit. And I think, to be honest, I think this one's been a little bit justified. I don't want to go in on him too much, but I think it's not just his form. I think he's not lost his head a little bit, but he's certainly thrown in a couple of tackles which have been unnecessary. He's certainly made some silly mistakes which have certainly cost the team. And I know we've always tried to counter that with the fact that, Branthwaite's not been playing and they clearly work as a partnership. And I think I get that. But again, am I right in saying that it was his 100th appearance for Everton over the weekend, and he certainly delivered with a really good performance against Arsenal as well. So hopefully back on track, as the Tarkowski that we know.
Yeah, I think we're now obviously seeing seeing signs, aren't we, what we saw for large parts of the second half of last season, and at times, before that, of Branthwaite and Tarkowski building up that partnership again, which was so formidable last season. We talk about a lot of things that were good. That was one of the shining lights of last season, wasn't it, of how good Branthwaite and Tarkowski were alongside each other. Obviously, at the start of this season, I don't know if Tarkowski was 100% fit, if I'm being honest. I think he obviously had a few knocks in pre-season and perhaps was having to play a little bit more than what everybody should have played because of the injuries, that situation that we found ourselves. Obviously, Branthwaite didn't kick a ball. And I don't think, I'm not saying that him and Michael Keane done anything necessarily wrong, because I think, that Keane was good for the large parts of which the games he played at the start of the season. I just think we're now seeing a little bit more of that collective cohesion that Branthwaite and Tarkowski now understand that they clearly have, and they both kind of seem to suit each other's game. And I think we're getting back, we're almost now seeing the levels that we saw last season where the two of them were just absolutely superb.
Okay, well, we're 14 minutes in and neither of us have collapsed or broken into any coughing fit or sneezing fit, so I think that's a positive. Let's see if we can go another 14 minutes. At least another half an hour to see if we can do that. So as mentioned, you touched upon how Everton played on Saturday and how just Everton play in general, and I just found it fascinating because after that Southampton game where they got trounced by Tottenham, I think seen someone say, how did Everton get beat by
twice this
Southampton?
season?
Twice, yeah. Didn't even think about the cup game. I'm just still trying to put that out of my mind. And it really is interesting for me that Everton can go to Arsenal and get a good result like that, but then go to Southampton and lose 1-0 the way they did. Is it not a clear indication? This is not a negative, by the way. It's not. It's still. It's more of a neutral positive, if you want to call it that. Is it not a clear indication that it's proof more than ever that Sean Dyche is pretty much more than he's just a one-trick pony as such, because he just plays the same way no matter what, who he sets up against. Really, against Arsenal, that was the perfect way to set up. I'm not disagreeing with that. I don't think anyone should be saying we should go out there and try and play open, expansive football, play a high line. I'm not suggesting that whatsoever, but just going back to the Southampton game, it's just a complete, contrast. like we maybe could have tried to be a bit more expansive, tried to be a little bit more open. We know how Southampton like to play a high line, and we just didn't take advantage of that.
It's probably the next stage of what you would like to have seen as like the Everton evolution, wasn't it, under Sean Dyche's, that ability to mix it up depends on who you play against. So like, I think, you look at Sunday, for instance, I don't think anyone can complain with how we set up. Yeah, it's frustrating as hell, and like, it annoys me when you see people, on Saturday, slagging Dominic Calvert-Lewin off and saying, he's off for nothing. But yeah, he's up there before defenders around him, fighting losing battles in terms of his job is to hold the ball up and relieve pressure. It's not as much to score goals and create goals, because we're not playing in that way. But I think at the same time, everyone accepts that that's the way we've got to play, because we're playing a team who are extremely good. We've got very good players. And it can be very dangerous if we get it wrong and we take the game to them, because they'll just pick us off. The flip side of that is when you play like the Southamptons, you want to see more than just kind of rugged sitting in deep, But look, I think, Southampton wasn't great, but I think I will defend Dyche a little bit, because we still created 4 really good chances against Southampton and we didn't take them. And he can't control that. He can't put the ball in the back of the net for us. You look at the goal, for instance, he had a poor goal to concede, etc. But, with respect, it's comes off the back of Beto, heading the ball against the bar from 4 or 5 yards out. Jack Harrison 20 minutes before that flicks the ball wide. He's got the whole goal to aim for. Them big moments Sean Dyche can't control, and I think obviously he pays the price, because people go, we set up wrong. Well, we actually set up in a way which created 4 good chances. We just didn't take them. So there's some stuff that you can label him at, and I do get where you're coming from, in the sense of we don't have that ability yet to mix it up, or we don't want to mix it up and change things, and look at a game and think, actually, you know what, we're going to go 4-4-2, we're going to take the game to them. I do think now it'll be interesting, though, just on this, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I do think it now will be different with Broja in the mix, because I think he's been really good, and I think I've been impressed. I know it's very little what we've seen of him, but he seems really intelligent, and I think he seems someone who can play a little bit more of a link-up player and can make a little bit more of a kind of a number 10 almost, and maybe play alongside Calvert-Lewin up top, can offer something different in that attack. So I think, ultimately, that will be interesting, I think, moving forward, because maybe that gives Sean Dyche a different dimension, a different way of thinking. Obviously, we won't see it the weekend, because Broja obviously can't play. Yeah. But I think it'll be quite interesting moving forward if Broja maybe is the player who allows Dyche to mix things up a little bit and change things up, because I think the problem we've got is that, people go on about 4-4-2 and playing with 2 forwards. We can't, because we essentially end up in a situation where Calvert-Lewin and Beto want to do the same thing. It just doesn't work, does it? We've all watched our own eyes. We've seen it doesn't work. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting now moving forward with a few more tools at his disposal, what Dyche does, and if he can actually change it up, and he does want to change it up. But yeah, I understand the frustration where some fans say, well, playing like that at the Emirates is acceptable, but it's not at Southampton. I completely understand that.
So there's a lot of debate over it, whether Everton's players, the squad is good enough to be able to mix it up. So are you on more of the side that the quality's not quite there to be able to adapt our play, rather than Dyche is just more of a one-trick pony, in a sense?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think obviously Sean Dyche has got a certain way he wants to play, in a certain way in which he believes we should play. And that's understandable, because he'll probably look at the team and the squad and the games and think, this is the way to get the most points we can in the Premier League to stay up. But yeah, I do think we also are a bit limited, aren't we, in what we've got squad-wise. I mean, a lot of the time, you take one out and you put one in, there's not much different. You look at the wide plays, for instance, like, McNeil, Lindstrom, Harrison. It's much for muchness, isn't it, really? There's not, and Dyche's obviously the one who can do something, who gets you on the edge of your seat almost and add that little bit of flair. But the other 3 are kind of been much for muchness for the most large part of this season. Beto and Calvert-Lewin are probably the same player, so it's always kind of one or the other. You look at the midfield, obviously Irabumu and James Garner have been long-term absentees. Mangala and Guy's probably the best partnership we've got. Decore can't really play the 6 or the 8, he can only really play the 10. So we are limited, I think, in what we've got, and I think some people need to realise that we are a bit limited. But on the other side, I do think that there are elements where Sean Dyche perhaps will need to show post-Christmas, when he starts getting a full squad back and he starts getting, a lot more plays at his disposal, that he can mix and change it up and do things differently.
Just a couple of comments on what we've just been speaking about there. So Simon says, the Arsenal game was ideal for Dyche's style of play. Could sit very deep and soak up pressure. It would have been different if we'd have conceded a goal. We aren't good at chasing games if we concede. I think that's the thing, isn't it?
Well, we didn't concede the goal, did we? Because how good defensively we were. So in one sense, you can pat Sean Dyche in the back and say, well, a combination of how good defensively he was and the fact you've got one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League means you didn't concede. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I get that. Like, we didn't concede.
It goes back to, because, sorry to put in, but it goes back to Tottenham's, doesn't it? And Tottenham was the example of where this can go wrong, in the sense of, we went to Tottenham, we conceded within the first 5 minutes.
We were far too open against Tottenham.
We were 2-0 down within 15 minutes, I think it was. And then it was like, we've got, like, what do we do here? Do we just try and, like, kind of bolt down the door and defend because we don't want to get hammered? Do we try and take the game to them, but then worry that we're going to get picked off? So, yeah, you end up in that situation where maybe you try and be a little bit expansive, like we saw at Tottenham, where it felt more of a 4-4-1-1 than it did a 4-5-1. But then, like I say, we concede early, all of a sudden chasing the game, concede again, and then it's like, oh, hang on, what are we going to do now? Should we dig in? Do we dig in and not concede, or do we try and take the game to them? So I think it's difficult, isn't it? I think, getting that fine balance is one of the toughest tasks in football.
Absolutely, and you've mentioned the shots that we did have against Southampton. Sorry, obviously, I don't want to harp on too much, but the Blues have said Southampton game was completely different. I'm sure we had over 15 shots. I mean, I agree that we had. I remember we had a couple of chances. I think clear-cut wise, I think you're right. We probably had about 3 or 4, didn't we? Because we know we had that Keane header.
Yeah.
We had the Beto one.
The Harrison one.
It was the Harrison one. So I get that. I just think sometimes for a team as...
You're still having my argument, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just, for a team as naive as Southampton have been this season, to be playing a high line,
yeah,
as they have done. I mean, look, it was just insane what they did against Tottenham. There's got to be ways.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I watched Southampton Tottenham on Sunday night because I'm a sado who's got no better to do on a Sunday night than watch football at 7 o'clock or whatever time it kicked off.
I watched it as well, so I'm not a sado.
And I could not believe what I was seeing, like what they were trying to do. And then you do find yourself sat there when it goes like 3-0, 4-0, and you're thinking to yourself, my God, this same team only 6 weeks ago beat Everton 1-0, and you're thinking, but these are dreadful. But then the other week you look at it, Southampton nearly beat Liverpool, didn't they? So.
And they're playing them tonight.
So it's I think it swings and roundabouts, doesn't it? I think there's some elements that are good, some elements that are bad, some elements that leave questions, and I think the big thing for all this is it just leaves questions, doesn't it? Because it's almost like on one hand you can see the best of Dyche a little bit with the Arsenal performance and how he sets us up, how defensively solid we were, but then the Southampton one is the limitations that I think he's got as a manager and his inability to change, and certainly I think his inability to go for it. I think he's still one of the managers who would like to be reserved, and it's the old saying, isn't it? You start a game of football with a point. That's the least you should walk away with. And I think Dyche's mentality is a little bit like that.
So SR says Dyche will never change. He is a one-trick pony. So there you go. John Jones says he cost us the cup game by leaving Pickford out. I mean, he didn't play a great
I mean, to be honest, I think he was more than Pickford that night. There was a few near that I didn't agree with.
Yeah, okay, well, we'll move on from that. Good result against Arsenal. I think, I'll be honest with you, this December period, I know the Liverpool game got postponed, but we've probably got more points already than I was expecting for this December period. So, still going to be 2 tough games.
Oh, yeah.
3?
3, sorry, yeah, because Forest are really good. I mean,
I'm not really including Forest in it. But
I didn't see the Forest game on Saturday because I was at the box. I was at the Natasha Jonas fight at the exhibition centre. But, by all accounts, they weren't great, but they found a way to win, which is all the hallmarks of a good team, isn't it? But we're getting into Forest because that's about 3 weeks away, isn't it?
Well, we keep saying, they're in a false position, they'll drop off. And I'm going to say it again, I think they will. I'm sure they will. But fair play to them,
But football's about putting points on the board, though, isn't it? Whenever you get the chance to, and they're doing that at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on then from Arsenal, talk a little bit of Takeover. Not that there's really much to say as we are live right now. Let's timestamp it. Wednesday the 18th, 11:35. So if you're listening to this on our audio platforms and the Takeover has been announced, we do apologise. But right now, as we are live, nothing has been announced. There's a little few things that we can speak about with the Takeover, Connor. I think a lot of people jumped the gun last week when it was announced that the Premier League had ratified, their side of things and the process, and everyone thought, oh, that's it, it's done, fantastic. I guess the one thing that we can take from the Premier League process, like approval process, is that it from the outside looking in, it's looked pretty straightforward compared to what 777 had gone through, and that's only a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, it seems to be on the brink, doesn't it? Now everything's moved in the right direction. We just start of a new era, new dawn for the football club. Obviously, yesterday people found out that they will get season tickets. Being on the waiting list, that was one of them milestone of adding to the capacity. So yeah, I think just kind of watch this space, isn't it? A little bit. That's all we can really say. What I will say is, I think when it does get confirmed, certainly head over to the Echo, because I know between Joe, Chris, Dave Powell, our business of football, right, and the rest of the lads on the desk will have full comprehensive coverage of what's gone before, what's to come, what the now is. But yeah, just we stand on the brink of a new dawn, don't we? A new era for the football club, which I think we can all agree can't come soon enough.
And have you been given a date for you can get your season ticket?
It's March time, isn't it? I think
you can get March.
Yeah.
Well, I need to pick better friends because I can get mine on the first day.
Okay, yeah.
Being released the 13th, but because I've got a friend who sits next to me who's
a little bit behind you,
13 years longevity, I'm gonna have to wait till the 5th of February.
You're just a good friend, aren't you?
Just loyalty and dedication to
the Everton cause.
Well, not even the Everton cause, just me friends. So I'm sure I'll get a ticket.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's
plenty of seats in that new ground for us all.
No, yeah,
that's the most important thing.
That's all good. Do you know what? One thing's dead funny. Obviously, the Premier League process has been approved now for the Freakins, but there's one criteria that you'd have to meet, isn't it? Where I think you'd have to put like £20 million or something into
a bond, isn't it? Yeah,
a separate account for like, I don't know, emergencies, and I just find it like insane that someone just says, yeah, there's 20 million. Yeah. It's not getting spent, but you just keep hold of that.
Oh, to have that luxury.
Yeah, to be in that position. There's
200 grand to do me.
Have you got 200 grand spare just to put in a bond account every corner? Yeah?
Joking, aren't you?
Okay.
I can only dream.
A few comments still coming through, so I will read them. But let's look ahead to Chelsea. We are Wednesday now, so we're a good couple of days away.
Don't want to steal the lads of Friday Thunder by talking too much about them for the full preview show. That will no doubt take place.
I wonder when Sean Dyche will do his press conference. You think it'll be Thursday, or because it's a Sunday match, you think it'll be a Friday?
Could be Friday, actually, with being Sunday match. He tends to do them Fridays for Sundays, but I'm sure we'll get confirmation the next day or two.
It'll be, I'm just purely speculating here, but it'll be interesting because if the takeover is imminent, which we believe it to be, he usually does it on a Thursday. If he does it on a Thursday, I'd fully expect all systems go for an announcement on Friday then.
I mean, that's just your own conspiracy.
No, that's what I say. I'm freestyling, speculating. But if it's a Friday, then I don't know. Let us know.
Who knows?
Let us know what you think. Okay, Chelsea then, absolutely flying at the minute. Connor, are you surprised how well they're doing? And can they push?
Yeah, I am surprised because they've been an absolute car crash circus of a football club, haven't they, for a couple of years. Pochettino just didn't really work last year, did it? Despite the best intentions. Obviously, they went and got Enzo in. People were again raising eyebrows of turning to a manager who's only experience of English football, came in the Championship, although we decided to win the Championship quite emphatically in Leicester City. It still felt like it was a huge step up and a huge kind of jump to make. But what I have seen of them, and I've seen a fair bit, is they are very, very good. They are well drilled. You can see clearly works a lot on the training ground with them, and they've got some bloody good players, one of which being Cole Palmer, who I think is absolutely outstanding.
You've obviously just read me notes there. Big fan of Cole Palmer, ?
I am a big fan of Cole Palmer, to honest that. Don't think he's perhaps as good as Mohamed Salah, I have to say. I don't think he's quite in that bracket yet, but I think he's firmly on his way to being in that bracket. And I actually think, to answer your question, if they go all the way, they won't go all the way because their goalkeeper isn't good enough. And I think if they get a goalkeeper in who is good enough, and is an upgrade on Sanchez, they could very well end up going all the way in a couple of years. I think this year is too early for them. Yeah. I don't think they'll go all the way. But look, don't get me wrong, they look like they're going to be Liverpool's nearest challengers. Let's get one thing straight. Arsenal look like they fell away a little bit. City are well and truly off the pace, aren't they? They're out the title race, if we're being honest. So they look like they're going to beat Liverpool's nearest rivals. I think Liverpool have got a little bit too much for them, I'll be honest. But I've been really impressed with them, and I think you look at where they were this time last season to where they are now, they're miles ahead, aren't they? And I think fair play to Enzo as well. He's seemed to come in, hasn't he? It's obviously well documented. They've got a huge squad, but he seemed to come in and just kind of got picked up the 20 players that he wants to work with, put the wheels in motion to work with them 20 players. I know he's getting the best out of them, and fair play because it's fantastic management. It's the classic example, isn't it? I think it's good manager, knows what he's doing. Tactically, a very astute coach, with a good combination of some really good players, and they found a perfect blend. But like I say, and I actually think this is one for us at the weekend because some of Everton's set pieces drive me absolutely insane. So I just don't think we put there was one on Saturday, for instance, where we got a free kick quite late on at the Emirates, and you think, all right, just put it on the penalty spot and let's just attack it. And instead we tried to float it to the back post to Tarkowski to head back across goal. It didn't really come off.
No.
The goalie ends up catching it. We ends up having to race back because we were back under pressure. And I think on Sunday, if we put our set pieces on Sanchez, the goalkeeper, we could get some success because I don't think he's a very confident goalkeeper. So yeah, I think to answer your question, the brilliant side were doing very, very well. Their major weak point is their goalkeeper though.
They got a ridiculous amount of goalkeepers on the books or something as well.
7, haven't they? And none of them look very good.
Well, funnily enough, at the start of the season, I predicted a good season for Chelsea. I didn't think they'd
Mr. Croll over there
go on to win the league. I think I predicted that they'd finish 4th.
Yeah.
I think that's what I said. So they're well on course for that. But Maresca has certainly gone under the radar, even though he won the league with Leicester. They obviously
you presume it's a massive step up, don't you? Because you look at the Championship and you think, don't get me wrong, it's great to win the Championship, and it's an achievement that no one should ever take away from any manager who wins the Championship, because we've all spoken in the past, haven't we, about, with respect, going down, it's not as easy to come back up as what people think it is, if that makes sense. So what he's done, you can't knock, but you just thought to go from Leicester winning the Championship to Chelsea was a huge step, and is he going to be eaten up and swallowed out again like Graham Potter was, or Pochettino was? And he's more than held his own, hasn't he, Masquerade? He's been absolutely superb.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's his style as well, and I think the thing with Chelsea is because they've spent so much and bought so many players. I think no one's questioning the quality of certainly of some of those players. It's just been for a lot of money. He's managed to quite quickly, and I'm sure he'll only get better, just mould them into a side capable of winning football matches, and it's a very young team, so you wouldn't be surprised.
That's what I'm saying. I think in years to certainly if they keep the way they're going and they get a goalkeeper in years to come, they could more than compete.
Yeah, absolutely. So just on Cole Palmer, then you said that you're a big fan. Just ridiculous in a way that Manchester City and Pep Guardiola just let him leave for Chelsea, and look where they are now. Imagine what Cole Palmer could be doing for Manchester City if he was still there. Kind of. It's obviously fantastic for City from their point of view that they've got these embarrassments of riches and they can buy all these quality players, but I think this is a key
one he got wrong, isn't it?
Well, it's key evidence that sometimes that it can work against you as well.
Yeah, because they've lost what I think is like a generational talent, isn't he? He's absolutely superb, and I'm sure there's a few people at Manchester City who are sat there right now kicking themselves that they let him go. Especially when they let them go to a rival who now look like they're going to finish above City in the table this year. But yeah, it's a massive mistake from City's part. And, like I say, Pep doesn't make many mistakes, but fucking hell, this is definitely one he has made.
And Connolly with a little swear word there.
Bloody hell, wasn't it?
Was it? I thought you said something else then. I'll let you off. Okay then, so, fully expecting Everton to approach this game exactly the same way as Arsenal and no difference?
Yeah, I think it'd be more of the same, won't it? I think it's hard, isn't it? Because I know we're at home and stuff like that, but I think people will look at it and think we've just got to play the same way, because if anything, these are as good as Arsenal at the minute. So it'll be very much, I think, more of the same. And obviously, Brozier's unavailable, isn't he? Because he's on loan. Right. I think we've still got a few injuries. So yeah, I think it'd be much more of a case of more of the same, I think. And I think when we come, like, for team selection standards wise, I think, yeah, it's hard to see how he makes changes, isn't it, really? And you're going to reward what you saw last week at the Emirates, which was a good performance.
I mean, I mentioned this last week when we had news that certain players who had been out injured had played behind closed doors, friendlies, etc. But I just think the longer the weeks go on without any reaction to those injuries and stuff like that, and players get back fit, it just gives us more options on the bench. For instance, if we're 0-0 with 20 minutes to go, something like that, we can maybe make a bit of a.
Well, Brozier looks like that type of player, doesn't he? Like that could be that bit of impact player over the next few weeks. You know, I know it was only a short cameo against Wolves, but I thought he'd done really well. Like I say, I watched him at the weekend against Arsenal. Thought he'd done really well again. Admittedly, different circumstances. Obviously, you know, he comes on against Arsenal. We're battling to preserve the point that we got ourselves in a position to win. Obviously, Wolves, we were 4-0 up and cruising. So, yeah, I think ultimately you want options, don't you? Because I think the problem is in recent years as well, we've just been far too ruggers, haven't we? In the sense of it's the same 11. It's probably going to be the same 3 subs you get on. Them 3 subs are just like for like, you know, winger off, winger on, Calvert-Lewin off, Beto on. You want to see something where you can be something different.
It can get stale,
and I thought that against Brentford a little bit, wasn't it? I thought, although Sean Dyche opted to make subs, they were all just like for like. Nothing really changed. It was like, you know, forward on, forward off, winger on. Like, there was no, he didn't have the ability, you know, and obviously the bench dictates this, but he didn't have the thing to go, right, we're changing formation and we're going to do this or we're going to do that. It was just generally kind of like for like.
I think if it works, then you're like, great, Sean Dyche is a genius. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't say that.
Back end of last season, it was a little bit like that, wasn't it? The same team played for large parts towards the back end of the season, same team plays every week. And everyone was like, no one batted an eyelid, did they go, oh, it's the same team again? Because everyone was just like, you want to play the same team again, you know, look how well we're doing. So
a lot of people put down the good form to the change in tracksuit, though, didn't he? So
the suits, well, he's wearing a tracksuit every week this year, and it hasn't worked, has it? So
it's obviously worn off. Okay, before we just come to team selections and predictions, so James Graham has said, if you could replace 2 players in January out of the current playing squad, who would it be?
Oof.
I'll go because I've been thinking about it because I've seen this question. So replace, I don't know whether. Well, I'll just say that the left back, we need to address the left back situation soon as, and I still think, obviously the striker situation could be rectified at least until the summer now with Breuer. I think you're probably still looking at the right back situation. You know, I know Ashley Young's played well. I don't think you're going to be able to find yourself like a really good quality number 10. You know, in January. It's really harsh on Ashley Young because he has played well, but I think if we're going to look to try and play a more of a counter-attacking, you know, style, you know, on the break, I think Ashley Young is not that type of player at this age. So I think they're the full-backs.
I think the problem we've got is I don't think we'll see much in January.
No.
I think if we're being brutally honest, I don't think we'll see much in January. I think we'll just kind of stick with what we've got, I think is my take on it. And might get maybe one, you know, maybe being one in if we possibly could, but like I think we'll see. I think because we won't see much in January because I think the summer's going to be that big. Because it's just, and that's not just like as an inside information thing.
The amount of players
because the amount of players we've got out of contract and the loans that we've got, you know, you forget we've got Jack Harrison on loan, Brozier on loan, Mangala on loan. So there's 3 players straight away whose futures are with another club because they're on loan. We've got, is it 5 players out of contract?
Well, I think the entire first team playing squad's down to 12 or 13 or something like
obviously
that.
Coleman is one of them. You know, will he maybe look at, you know, Young is one of them. Calvert-Lewin.
There's just loads.
Decore, Idrissa Gueye. You know, Idrissa Gueye is a big one for me because, you know, I think he's someone who continues to perform, but he's got an age now where we're going to need to replace him because we can't go on with him forever. So when you look at doing that, so yeah, I think the thing for January is, I think, in my opinion, I don't expect too much because I think we need to all be braced for what's going to be a huge summer.
That's the reset, the summer's reset. I mean, Everton could look completely unrecognisable.
Oh yeah, well, like I say, you know, we've just named 8 players there whose futures could lie elsewhere. Yeah. You know.
Okay, Daniel Reel says, I think the key area of improvement for us has to be our counter-attacking threat. We are slow and hopeless on the counter. It's all well and good playing the low block, but we pose no counter threat, which we've spoke about.
I think as well with that is quality as well, because I think you look at Liverpool, they're unbelievable to counter attack because of the quality they've got, their ability to retain possession. How many times you see us try and break and we play the wrong pass, or we don't decore, for instance, we spoke to, it's a prime example, isn't it? Holds the ball for too long, lets it go too soon. It's that to play good counter attacking football, you've got to have intelligence. I don't think we've got the intelligence to quite master it. And I think we see that more than ever in recent weeks with our counter-attacking. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand.
And here's a comment to back you right up. So the Blues said, need to buy pace and quality on the ball for that.
You do, yeah.
Last one, Simon says the squad is better than people give it credit for, especially the manager. We should be mid-table instead of another relegation battle.
I think the squad, I understand that, sing up the squad, but it's having that squad available, isn't it? You know, that's the big problem we've had this season. You know, we started the season with our number one centre-back, who we valued at more than 70 million in the summer, wasn't available, you know. So, I agree on the squad. I think if Sean Dyche has everyone fit and available, and the options that brings, yeah, I agree with that. But I think you look at this year, I'm not defending Sean Dyche. You know, I don't want this to become like a Sean Dyche defence, but I do have sympathy because I think you look at the injuries and the suspensions and stuff we've had this season, that hasn't exactly played as it into the hands of. He's got everyone available to pick from. You know, I don't think he's had that luxury since the first ball of the season was kicked.
No, well, to be honest, Connor, I am starting to struggle, as you can see now. We'll come to the end of the podcast. Team selection and predictions, what are you going to go for?
From a team selection point of view, and this is boring and predictable, but it'll be exactly the same team that starts at the Emirates on Sunday. Saturday, this Sunday. Can't see how he makes, unless there's an injury that we don't know about, or, you know, I just can't see where he makes changes. I can't see where he brings anyone in. I can't see where he brings anyone out. I think it'll be exactly the same team that starts at the Emirates at the weekend.
And did you predict Arsenal right? Did we confirm this? Did you say 0-0?
I did say we can get a 0-0, yeah. There's no reason why we can't get a 0-0.
Wow. So go and predict another score for another positive result for Sunday?
I think we will win 2-1.
Wow. That would be insane if we could get a win like that against Chelsea on Sunday.
I think we can get 2-1. I'm going 2-1.
That would stand us in such good stead going into
the back end of the month. It'll be the perfect early Christmas present. Especially given the game we've got on Boxing Day, which I have to say, and like this will come back to haunt me, I know it will, but I'm going to say it anyway. That is one of the most daunting fixtures has been one of the most daunting fixtures in English football. I think there's two places in recent years where we genuinely fear going. One is Anfield for obvious reasons, because we're useless there, aren't we? And the other one has been the Etihad because of just like City just had the ability to just, you know, brush it aside. Don't do anything bar the Frank Lampard draw. Jamari Gray scored the worldie from out of nowhere. It's been quite tough going, hasn't it, in recent years at the Etihad, and you know we've been kind of brushed aside. But you look at City and you think, you know, if you ever there's a time to go there and, you know, stick one on them, it's probably now. So yeah, I think if we can get a win Sunday, and then go to the Etihad Boxing Day, there's no reason why we can't bring another shock result.
I'm going to take the easy route out with my prediction and not give it till Friday, just to see if there's any glaring injuries to the team. But I like that 2-1. I think I've been negative the past couple of weeks, and we've won or we've got a draw.
Just carry on the negativity then.
You carry on with your positivity. I'll carry on with my negativity. Okay, any final thoughts then? I guess just waiting on the takeover now. That's imminent, very close. What else? Friday, if we've got an announcement by then. I mean, we're going to have a YouTube show, we're going to have an audio show Friday. As long as I'm well enough, I'll come in to the studio to do that. And I think it's either going to be just me and Gav, or it's going to be me, Joe, and Gav. So it'll all depend on when Sean Dyche's press conference is, whether that's Thursday or Friday. So stay tuned for Friday. There definitely will be a show. But yeah, any final thoughts, Connor?
No, I think this will be my last show now before Christmas. I think, given the way the timetable works and stuff, and obviously this time next week it is Christmas. So for anyone listening, watching, have a good Christmas and don't get too drunk.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, well, that is all for today's show. Please remember to give us a like. Hit the subscribe button, show us your support. It is greatly appreciated. I'm struggling here, I can't get my words out. Give us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back Friday with another episode of the Royal Blue Podcast. I've been Ian Croll, joined by Connor O'Neill, and this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.